Dun, dun, dun. It says we're live again.
One more time.
One more
From
time.
the top. Off you go.
Happy Tuesday, folks.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us on TeaFlix Tuesday today. And Martz, can you see us up in the control panel upstairs? He says, not yet. Okay. Well, I'll just keep yakking until you can.
Okay.
Excellent. So today we've got an old, originally a friend of Angie's, but now a friend of the family, basically family. Xavier Burgin is an Emmy-nominated writer and director from USC Cinema. He's a staff writer on Starz' wrestling drama Heels. He wrote the Lifetime TV movie Give Me Back My Daughter 2025, which is required viewing for all of our regulars. He's written for the WWE, Crypt TV, Amazon Studios, the Discovery Channel, and Paramount. He directed AMC Network's horror noir, Adult Swim's Juneteenth holiday special, and the BET Plus series Giants. Xavier is the dubbing director for Netflix's sumo sports drama Sanctuary. He grew up in the deep South where chain link fences guarded you from the dog snapping at your feet. The TV in his grandparents' house switched between SEC football, wrestling, or Remember the Titans. Xavier would disappear into the evergreen forests of Mississippi until the sunset. Then he'd emerge for Cowboy Bebop, Final Fantasy VII, and Event Horizon, wondering if these tales could coexist. Now he creates adventure, legend, and myth, the type of worlds his younger self dreamed about back in the days of the rural heat. Xavier wrote Give Me Back My Daughter, a social drama for Lifetime TV. And around that time, he met Angie, this one here, when they were both studying improv as part of the National Lampoon Lemmings class of 2016. He also developed Sankova, a sci-fi comedy entering a Black utopia ruled by autocratic AI 5 million years after the collapse of the American Empire.
Here we go.
With Justin Simien's Culture Machine. And the project has been acquired by Paramount. He directed the English dub version of Sanctuary, a Netflix drama about a young sumo wrestler. He also directed AMC's network Horror Noir, a history of Black horror, which expounds on the untold history of Black Americans in the genre. The documentary holds a 100% fresh rating on the Rotten Tomatoes. I know they call it Rotten Tomatoes, but I think they're wrong. Tomatoes. And the project premiered on the horror streamer Shudder. So for any fans of horror, go have a look for AMC's network, A History of Black Horror. He earned a Daytime Emmy nomination for his directorial work on Giants, and that show was acquired by Paramount's BET Plus. He directed Juneteenth with Open Mike Eagle, an Adult Swim special about the national holiday's history. The project premiered between the Boondocks and Black Dynamite. He's also shadowed the director and cinematographer Michael Goy on the American Horror Story to hone his technical direction skills. He's shadowed showrunner Jordan E. Cooper on the Ms. Pat Show to sharpen his sitcom experience. And he also shadowed director and executive producer Mary Lou Belli on the set of Sacrifice to further his knowledge on stunt coordination, fight scenes, and action sequences. Xavier's collaborations also include DC Comics, Lenovo, LOL Networks, and Stage 3 Productions. And without further ado, live from his home in Beverly Hills, let's welcome Xavier Burgin. Welcome, welcome.
Hello, darling.
Hey.
How are you?
I am doing good. I did not know you were going to read the very long.
Are you tired now? You realize all you've done. You need a little lie down.
Yeah, I'm going to need a nap after getting all that out. You are one busy man.
Yeah.
I try to be. No, I appreciate it. I think hearing it definitely reminds you on a big level of everything that's happened, especially since I've met you both, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it doesn't do you any harm, certainly, especially if you're exhausted, tired, your ego's taken a bit of a bruising up for whatever reason. And I'm not saying yours has, but it doesn't do you any harm to go back and read your own resume twice a year at least and go, wow, did I accomplish all that? You know, hey, not so bad.
No, that's so true. No, I appreciate that 100%. It definitely gives you perspective and makes you appreciate where you've been. So true.
And how far you've come.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you believe it's 9 years ago since we first met on the Lemmings?
Oh my goodness.
I always remember that first night. I thought I was just going to observe from the audience. And then when Alison made me aware I was going to have to come up and do improv, I was terrified. And you took me by the hand and walked me up those steps onto the stage. I was so grateful. And I think the bond was set then without any doubt.
I know, and I will always be grateful to you too, because when you would see her out of the theater and put her safely in an Uber and send me a text to say she's on her way and it's a white Nissan and it's so and so license plate, whatever, you really took care of grandma. So we love you for that, and all of your talents and so on. So a lot has happened then, since then. And Ange wanted to sort of wind it back to your early days.
Yes, I wanted to, like Ruth just said, you grew up watching football and wrestling and then onto anime and video games. How did that media shape your storytelling, particularly your fascination with myths and fantastical narratives? That's difficult to say. You know.
I think one of the things that when I look back at my childhood now, like one of the important pieces was, growing up, growing up Christian, growing up with the Bible and like, learning those stories, hearing about them, hearing about Cain and Abel, hearing about Goliath and Samson, all these things were like, not only a part of, a community, but also just getting to hear these fantastical events that felt so amazing and otherworldly in many ways that like automatically as a younger person, it just made me appreciate that type of storytelling. And whenever I would see these type of understandings, I would, glom onto it, whether it was, films or TV or video games or anything to that degree. So I felt like that was like where that real love for fantastical understandings came from. And then it just stated and mixed with, me just being someone from, down south, from, Alabama, from Mississippi. So I think that's where, a lot of it really just first popped forth for me.
Yeah.
Did you go to Bible study, or were there just Bibles in the house? Or, I mean, obviously you went to church probably on a Sunday.
Yeah, it was just, if I really look back at it, for most folks, I think down south, like, it was sometimes it was, you would go there for, Monday Bible study, you'd have Wednesday Bible study. Of course, you could have revival, you could have Sunday school, and then, you actually have, church a little bit later. So in a lot of ways, thinking about growing up down south, growing up religious, it definitely was something that was just an integral part of who I was, how I grew up around in the community, the love that was there, that I think just, not only became a part of the storytelling because it always made me write things that were more honest, more humanistic about my family, about how I grew up in that way. So it was kind of like twofold. Like it gave me the more fantastical side that I love and I appreciate, but it also like ingested me in the human side of like really just wanting to tell stories about people that I love and I understood, especially from down south, where I just like, it's just a core piece of who I am,
Yeah, and it's so much a part of so many people's families, and the whole Christian religion story, I think, it's a very smart. I mean, not to sound cynical, but it's a very smart way that thousands of years ago they figured out how to tell people stories to awe them, to inspire them, to make them not give up, to make them believe. When you think about, whoever wrote the tablets of the first Bible, I mean, they were truly the first storytellers and writers in a way.
Well, I think that's so true. I really appreciate that. I think one of the things with, any religions of any understandings is it just allows you to be able to read these amazing, different new stories that connects us with different communities, with different people that really a lot of times comes back to love and understanding. And I think that's something that, I found and appreciated in the way that I grew up. And I feel like a lot of people can connect with that too, if they have something like that.
Yeah, Diana's just commenting such great perspective from the younger generation, which is true. So many people of your generation and your age group, they're not so interested in history in the past and family and things, which is a shame.
I do have to say, like, it's probably not easy right now with, how expensive things are, how hard it is to go back and visit people as much as you could. I think, it makes it a little bit harder for younger folks to be able to dig into these traditions and things. So I don't want to blame them by any means. Of course, we should try and like have and believe and love in our families and be there as much as possible. But I feel like the current wave of what we're going through, especially with, it's just seriously how expensive it can be sometimes just to go fly back and see family.
Right.
sometimes causing a little bit of estrangement there, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if there was only one good thing to come out of COVID, and there were certainly millions that weren't good, was that people learned to communicate like we are now through Zoom and StreamYard and Google Meet and so on. So, you know, I was always trying to find during the lockdown, trying to find the silver lining in that big old COVID cloud. But again, you're right. There's nothing like in person.
No.
And nowadays, even though we can travel again, there's a bunch of crazy people at the airports.
Oh boy.
Yeah, airports are never easy. I don't think it's ever fun by any means.
No.
Like again, I don't even remember the times where you could just walk through an airport and you just walk through and you have to do all the extra stuff. So it's just been the normal for me.
No.
Right. So, answer the question about your, you know, the next step in your evolution.
Yeah, what led you to start pursuing, you know, your
Can you read that?
Ruth. Yeah, I know. I've made some notes here and I've got the wrong glasses on. Doing cinema at the University of Alabama and then on to USC. And how did those environments sort of foster your development?
So I think one of the things that I think is important to say is, you know, as a filmmaker, you don't have to be someone that goes to college. You can be someone who is completely working class and pursue this. And I hope that people do that, you know, regardless. But I will say, I think like, you know, taking the time to go into college, to go pursue film in that way can not only be so helpful because education is so necessary, so needed in these times, but it also gives you that, you know, foundational understanding that you can really pull from there. So, you know, for someone like me, when I was young, you know, folks weren't saying, oh, be a filmmaker. That's not usually how it works, especially down south. They're like, you know, be a doctor, be a teacher, be an engineer, be something that's going to make you money. And you know, there's an entire industry to film, as we know. But a lot of times you're not learning about that, especially down south. So it was getting like I'd always been someone who had written small stories, things like that, but never truly thought about it and why that was being evoked from what I was living, what I was going through, what I was ingesting. So it really took until college where I just had amazing professors, people who really pushed me and said, this is something that you can try and do. You should give it that chance versus simply just going an easier path where I did something that may have been more financially stable to a degree, but also, you know, it was a passion. So I think once I kind of figured out around in college that, okay, I like to tell stories in some way. So there has to be something where I can at least connect this on an economic level, something that I can do and I can pursue. And that's when I really started to like, you know, look at cinema, look at film, because I'd always loved it, but to really look at it as like an avenue that I should take. So it was around that time where it just hit me. I took this one class that was called like Make a Movie, and they just threw a camera into our hands and said, go make something. Like we made a short, and it was like really bad. It was a terrible short. I would not show it. I don't know where it is now, but
we'll find it.
It made me realize this is something that I loved, and so it made me say I at least have to run after it in some way. So Alabama had a great teacher there named Dr. Raymist, and I told them I just wanted to keep going. So from there, I stayed closer to home to be around my sister and brother. But I was like, okay, if I'm gonna really go this route, then I want to go as far as possible. So I, you know, hunkered down with my professors, build out stuff, build out my portfolio, and then applied to like USC, UCLA, AFI, NYU, like all those schools that are known as like those great American schools for film. Thankfully, I got into NYU, AFI, and USC, and I was like, okay, this is amazing. So I really was thinking about NYU because it's so amazing. I love the school. It's an amazing place with amazing filmmakers. But I went to New York, and it rained for 4 days, and I was like, I don't know if I really like this. So that ended up making me choose USC. But in all joking aside, USC was just an amazing choice and an amazing place to be. I had family out here as well, so it just felt right. And I think, you know, looking back all these years later, I'm thankful that I made that choice on an educational level as well to pursue this. So, I think hopefully that answers that.
Yeah, it does.
It sure does, yeah.
Filmmaking too is, I think, some of the older generation, some parents and grandparents, it's like, oh, that's arty farty. That's like wanting to be a rock star. Get a proper job, get a real job. But when you look at some of the classic American films and shorts, and including your short film, Give Me Back My Daughter, these are important historical documents. They're about progress or regress. They're about mental health, not just for you who got that story out and made that film. But I think, when I used to write songs, love songs and lyrics, if you can help one person with a piece of art that you created, you've done your job. Right?
Oh, yeah. I think that's a great way to put it. I think that's the beautiful thing about art. We don't have to take anything away from anything else. All things are equally important. And the reason why we as humans love art is because it speaks to us in such powerful ways, whether that's film, whether that's cinema, whether that's music. There's something beautiful there. So no matter what, in any good, prosperous society, we're going to want art. We're going to want a way to be able to feel. And, I just think it's something that we should allow to flourish, not only just having to take the shot and just run after it, but on a powerful level of government, of our institutions, of everything being like, let's uplift filmmakers so we can see that next generation of what American filmmakers can do, or American musicians, or anything to that degree.
Right, I agree, and I think that the arts are often not treated as a sixth or seventh human sense or a fifth food group, but to me they are, considering Madam here was the youngest qualified piano teacher in the history of the United Kingdom, and now she's the world's oldest podcaster, so she's spanned the gamut from that to that. But I also think that it's about, there's no denying, especially in the case of music, that people who have a musical ability, if they start to suffer from dementia or Alzheimer's due to dementia, they can still remember songs from years ago and melodies and instruments. I mean, we have friends in the music industry. There's a great charity called Music Men's Minds. And these people who couldn't tie their shoelaces or tell you what they had for breakfast, they can fill a church hall and they can sing every song they knew from the 60s, 70s, 80s. So I think art has such an important place to play in our psyche and our well-being, our physical well-being.
I think, I agree with you. I think art is feeling on both a mental level, on a physical level, on a soulful level. It gives us something that nothing else can fulfill. It's a passion. I think I truly believe that every single person, whatever you do, whatever you love, I think there is an artist in you. I think you do have something to say. It's just about, do you get the chance, or do you give yourself the chance to even try it, versus saying, oh, well, that's not me, I can't do it. Like, well, why not? Why not do it? Like, what's going to stop you? You know?
Yeah, that's why the culinary arts fascinate me too. I mean, food is art for some people. We work with a lot of chefs, and that's their outlet, and it makes people happy to see it and eat it and experience it. And so I do hope that we can get back to a place, especially in this country, where the arts are revered and valued and funded. And and Elizabeth is just saying she's not wrong either. She's an incredible collector of antiques. Art is life and life is art. It really is that simple, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's a great thing that you just said. Yeah,
when it comes down to it. So your thesis film, old E, but it's two E's in there, became a Student Academy Award semifinalist, and it was selected for Ryan Murphy's Director Showcase. How did that all come about?
So just to give into anyone out who's listening who wants to be a filmmaker or is a filmmaker, I hope it helps your journey, or to keep things in mind. So of course, one of the great things about being able to go to somewhere like USC is it allows you to not only connect with other people, but sometimes you're allowed to make these films where they'll fund the film, and they'll have all of us come together to make it. Usually that's called I think a 546, within there. Okay. So that was one where I was chosen to be the director for the overall film where, we worked on it. So not only was it about like, making this piece that wanted to dig into social problems, wanted to talk about the harshest things that happen in Los Angeles, but also giving all of us like a way to know what it means to actually be on a real set. I think one of the things, like, going to the more technical side of like, artistry of directing is I think there's a lot of people who really, really understand the artistry side, possibly what it means to pull emotion or to talk to a person or to like, get them to emote and feel. Yet at the same time, as a director, you need to know that, but you also need to know what it means to be able to do all of that with like 50 or 60 people behind you and around you that are waiting on you to figure things out technically and get piece by piece by piece by piece and wrap it up on the day and not go over an extra 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 hours. And that technical side is just as important as the artistic understanding. So, that film and being able to do that under the tutelage at USC allowed me to have a better understanding of how to do it on a bigger level. Which really made a difference. So that's where it came about. That was the necessity of it. And, thankfully, it was a film that was strong, that people really liked, that, at least in the semifinals for the Student Academy Awards. It was on Ryan Murphy's thing. He really loved it. And that allowed me to be able to shadow on American Horror Story on season 6. And essentially like being able to, as a filmmaker, make small pieces like a thesis, a short like that, that's really strong, allows you to be seen, for folks to say, okay, you've done something well here. How can we actually pull you or bring you up as an artist at the next step? Because again, the reason to make a short isn't to keep on making more shorts, is to hopefully get the next job, making a TV show, directing on television, making the features. So it was a great understanding of giving me the technical skills, but also setting me up for the next stage in my career.
Yeah, that's it. People don't, when they see directed by or produced by, I think a lot of, the average Joe in the street, they see the credits, but they don't really understand all what goes into it. Producing, to me, when I was a kid, I was like, well, they didn't pull a rabbit out of a hat. They didn't produce something. What do producers do? And that's why I became interested and eventually went into production, because it's like being a plate juggler and a ball juggler and nurse on the set and mommy and chief cook and bottle washer and emotional support animal all rolled into one, isn't it?
Yeah, producers are some of the best people I know. Like truly, when I say they are the problem solvers of the world that can figure it out, because more often than not, if you want to be a producer in the film industry or any type of producer, the first thing people are going to ask you is like, can you figure this out for me? And your answer needs to be yes, or maybe not this way, but let's try it this way. You always have to be that person that can figure out the next thing and the next thing.
They have to deal with smoothing egos, don't they? And making it all.
And times and budgets and stopwatches and union breaks and meal breaks and food allergies and all of it. I know. Which if you had a hat that you could choose to wear for the next stage of your career, would it be writer, producer, or director?
I think the next stage for me would be director by all means. Like, of course, while I've done each of these things, the most important thing for me when I came into this is I wanted to direct. I wanted to create these images that go onto screen and be the person behind that. Now, of course, getting there is not easy. I mean, this is an industry that has many people in it that are always trying, and that's just something that's real no matter what. So you have to keep that in mind. But I said essentially for myself is that, okay, if I'm going to go that route, what I have to keep on doing is keep on writing till someone's going to give me that chance, or at least build myself up to where I can get there. One of the things I like to talk about on a bigger level is how a lot of times writing and directing are kind of like intrinsically, and they're not the same thing, but they're so tied to each other. If you know how to write, I do think you know how to direct. If you know how to direct, you know how to write, because it is trying to move the story and move people. And I think a lot of people don't see that as tied as it should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
necessarily be. Yeah, no, that is amazing. Mm-hmm. So Ange had a question about On Time.
Yeah. On Time, it premiered on HBO, didn't it? And it earned several awards. How did those early successes shape your career and your creative trajectory?
So what I would actually say to that, interestingly enough, is I think that's the thing that maybe keeps me tethered the most. Like On Time was that small short that was made back then.
Yeah.
And that was a decade ago now. And On Time was, the proof of concept, or the idea that like started the entire journey that led to Give Me Back My Daughter being a Lifetime film. So, for me, in a lot of ways, it was an entire decade, starting from there at USC, saying, I want to make something. This is something that I care about. How do I do it? How do I make a film? And it just is, oh my goodness, to think about the backs and forths, the ups and downs, the times of, oh wow, this almost could happen, and then it doesn't, and then you have to try again, and then you're rewriting it. I'm never going to do another rewrite. You rewrite it one more time for people. It's just art. It's such a back and forth, and it's almost like hindsight 2020, in that the final thing that really made it all happen was this amazing exec who just connected with the script, because they said that was them like 10 or 15 years ago. Like they went through the exact same thing. So it felt so powerful to them. They were willing to fight for it. And they did. And, it gets bought quickly and made, and then comes out in April of this year. And that's a trajectory of, if I could have told myself that a decade ago, I'd be like, okay. But you don't know, you have no idea. So if anything, it's taught me like just the fact that you have to keep on going,
Never give up.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, my grandmother used to say, if you're waiting at the bus stop and you're waiting and the bus doesn't come and it starts to rain and you decide, the hell with it, I'm going to spend my last $10 on a cab, you can guarantee the minute you get in that cab and shut the door, 8 buses will come around the corner.
That's life.
It's just the way life works.
Yeah.
Speaking of Ryan Murphy, it's Murphy's Law, isn't it? If you had not done On Time, which is a fascinating story, which led to then Give Me Back My Daughter, which is another fascinating. And it's what I love about your writing is it's the story of every man, every woman, every human, every person, binary, non-binary, gay, straight, black, white, doesn't matter. We all have these challenges in our lives, and the characters that you create and choose to portray, I'll be damned if everybody can't relate, if not on a personal level, to somebody next door or a cousin or somebody's kid that they know. That's it's sort of
it's a taste of reality. In other words, isn't it?
It is. But again, you've done a lot of fantastical, magical horror things too. But I think if I were to try and put you in a nutshell as a writer director, it's just that you have never lost, even though you're living the life in Beverly Hills now with a big Hollywood agents and representing you and all of that stuff, you've never lost touch of where you came from and who you are.
And you never will you?
No.
You better not.
We won't let you. We'll spank you.
Come and
I appreciate that.
smack your little legs if you do.
I think one of the good things to keep in mind is to stay grounded, and also just be humble about these understandings. I think, a lot of folks who aren't within an entertainment or film industry or any kind of entertainment industry think that, oh, you've made a movie or you've done this or you directed this, you must be just doing great. And okay, I live in Beverly Hills. It's nice. But at the same time, selling a film now, is going to get you a nice setup. But like back in the 80s or 90s, that might have been $2 or $3 or $4 million for something like that. Yeah. So at the same time, I just, I stay humble, because being a director, being a writer, being a filmmaker is still a working class job for the majority of us. And I think that's things that folks should, keep in mind, that outside of the glitz and glamour that you see on Hollywood, that's like 1% of the actual industry. And there's the other 99 where people are just working class people who are trying to make art and also trying to survive,
No, it's the never let them see you sweat. Isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Everything's wonderful. Yeah. When people ask me how I am, I'm splendid. Even if I feel like 6 bags of hammered crap, I'm splendid.
Yeah, well, that's, the show must go on. And
Absolutely.
a lot of that.
And if you say it often enough, you believe it. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. The power of manifestation is huge.
Yeah, I think a lot of artists have to be willing to do that. They have to be willing to say, like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna keep on making my art no matter what somebody has to say, because
Right.
there's some people who are gonna love it. There's some people who are not gonna like it. It is what it is. But if it fulfills you, I think you have to keep going no matter
Yes.
what.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
I learned
totally.
that at a very late time in my life.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
83 years old when I published my first book. And I'm on my 9th now.
Yeah, just keep doing it.
Just published our 8th book, which I mentioned to you before.
Yeah,
it's about language and words and the use of words and so on.
Words and language. As a writer, you'll understand this, that they fascinate me particularly, because they can heal, or boy, they can hurt. Right? I mean, there are ways to put things that you can just make somebody feel comfortable. There seems to be so many haters out there now. I just don't get it. I just don't.
I will say, like, I think because things are harder for many people, it's magnifying a lot of feelings of like hurt and resentment and pain. And like sometimes, especially on the internet, it's the quickest, easiest way for people to find something to glom onto and be mad about. Not saying they're not justified, but a lot of times it can be getting mad just to feel better. And it's not a good thing to always be mad constantly, because it primes you up to what? Be more angry, It's a scary thing. And I think that's why you see a lot of more people who are just mean. Now.
Well, it's a place where you can be anonymous too. You can spit, out anything, and if they can't find you, if you've got a screen name, whatever. That's why I think, again, important. The importance of great books, good music, and great film and TV and comedy, horror, whatever your thing is so important, because it takes us away from just the daily doom scrolling and vitriol that is out there. Going back to, speaking of history and great films, in A History of Black Horror, that explores a deeply rooted history in the genre, that genre in cinema. What prompted you to tackle that subject, and what do you hope it contributes to both horror as a genre and also Black representation in film in general?
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, Horror Noir, A History of Black Horror is a film made by AMC Network / Shudder, and it's based on the book by Dr. Robin R. Means Coleman, which is also called Horror Noir. And both the book and the film take you on a journey chronicling the history of Black Americans within the horror genre. And one of the big things of why I think it's important, to check it out, is, as we know, like, all of us should know our history. There should be no part of history that we leave out, or we say that should be to the side. We should know all about it, every piece of context. So, for anyone, for example, who has learned about, a film history, or has learned about the history of America, I think that watching something like Horror Noir is only going to give you more context to what has happened. And I think that, without question, we as Americans, but we as people in general, should know our history and should know the context. So that's why I think it's the type of film that can always help someone to better understand the world around them and the context of why things have happened.
Yeah, no, we can't hide history, because it'll only resurface and come back, and then the kids and the generation it was hidden from are going to go, well, why did you hide that? I could have coped with knowing that, and I could have learned from it and done better.
Absolutely.
It's a dangerous censorship is a dangerous thing. It might seem like a good idea at the time to those who enforce it, but it never pays off in the end. Ever.
Yeah, and censorship will always lead to people knowing less. And the less that people know, the less that they can critique and understand the world, the less that they can critique what's happening around them. Media literacy, being able to understand what's happened before and what's being put in front of you, is so necessary. And it's it's unfortunate that we're losing more of that, and we need it. We need it. We need to understand what's happening to us in every single way.
Right.
My God, you are wise. You
Without
really are.
without knowledge, you can't. There's fear, and with fear being prevalent, there's no empathy, and
Yeah.
so that's when it one begets the other, right? Our friend Ashley from Birmingham, Alabama, who says, "Welcome, fellow Southerner." He's asking you whether any of the Black genre horror films in the 70s, a specific one, an inspiration to you, like anything that stood out, and who are your directors that you may have been significantly influenced by?
Well, just to give, I'll just give one on this one, and I think a favorite of mine that comes to mind when I think about all of, like, when I did horror noir and I did the horror genre, is specifically like Blackula, from the blaxploitation era. The reason why I bring it up is, one, I think it's a really fun film. I think that the horror genre, we often think horror is just laughter, but I'm not laughter. I'm sorry, it scares. But the whole thing about it is horror can also be a way for us to understand the context of times and what's happening as well. And one of the reasons why I always really appreciated Blackula was not only that it gave the context of like Black liberation and
Right.
its dealings in the story, but also if you take out the time and you look at the director of it, he's still working to this day.
Is he really?
And,
Wow.
and I really find it inspirational because it's just a reminder that he was again, one of the few filmmakers at that time as a Black filmmaker that can even be a director, that even got to make something in the first place. So I think that within itself is just so inspirational. So if I had to give one thing for that answer, that would be it for me.
Yeah, that's and P.S. Blackula, greatest title ever. I mean, would you have loved to be at the table when they came up with that one? They must have been high-fiving each other for an hour.
Blackula, yeah.
It makes you want to see it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You're like, okay, is it a comedy? Is it a horror? Is it, it's a real good marketing piece. So back to your directing world.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Now, you directed episodes of Giants, didn't you? Earning an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Director for a digital drama.
Yeah, that one brings back.
Yeah, how did this sort of creative vision shape the tone and the themes of these episodes, and what drove you to your involvement in these projects in the first place?
So just first thing I would say is, big shout out to all of the folks that did Giants with the creator of it, James Bland, who is an absolutely amazing individual who, again, it just reminds me so much of, like, again, how much I appreciate you two, where it's all about just meeting people and finding your community, folks that love you and care about you. James was someone who saw me as a filmmaker, who saw someone that could make something powerful and wanted to uplift me in the same way that he's uplifted others. So he gave me a chance. He said, hey, I know you haven't done, hour length, 30 minutes, hour length work yet. Well, I'm giving you the chance to come in and just jump in and do it, not having to do something else, not having to do, another program, just come and make it. And I said, yes, let's go. And I'm so thankful for that, because of how well it's done, but how it helped me to understand that I think one of the most important things as an artist is that you just have to find other people who love you and believe in you and just want to see you succeed and want to pull you up with them, So I think that's the greatest thing. Giants gave me so much more skills and technical understanding. Being able to make an hour length, piece of TV is just a feat within itself. And we did that on like $3. So I'm just very thankful for that. But on a bigger level, it was just connecting with humans, with people who I know to this day just really care about me. And it's hard to find that sometimes in the quote unquote film industry in LA and all that understanding. So shout out to them.
Yeah, no, it's often a dog eat dog world, but when you find the tribe, when you find the good ones and you stick together, I mean, I'm still friends with people that I worked in. We were only making commercials and music videos, nothing serious, but I'm still very close with those film crew folks that I worked with in 1983. My God, it's 42 years ago. And we could all pick up the phone and call each other in the middle of the night and go, I've got a flat tire. And no questions asked. It's just, film crews and film teams, I think it's almost like being in an army unit, right? You're like a bomb. Everybody would carry the bomb out of the building for everybody else.
I think that's a good way to put it. Like, yes, it's finding a community of love who really just like believes in you, wants you to succeed. It's going to keep. Here's the big thing I think is so true of other artists in the community. When you know you've built a good community within the entertainment industry, is when people, even if the certain thing they're doing right now isn't for you, and you can be honest and say that, they're like, okay, cool. They'll come back and hit you later with something else. You don't have to feel like you have to take this thing, because you know they love you and they believe in you enough. There will be something else, you know?
Yeah. I remember in our early days when you and I first knew each other, I used to say to you, so what are you wearing on the red carpet? And now it's not that so far away.
Well, he's been there, done it.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, but again, manifestation and belief and having people like Ange on your team, you know, it just, even though we don't see each other physically very often, we know that, you know, you should know that we're always there for you. If there's anything you think we can do to help with it, we are there. We just text, done, you know.
That doesn't include bringing you laundry.
Of course, not that. But I know it. You're some of the people that have always been supportive in a huge way. Like, again, 9 years ago, I was just getting out of USC, just trying to figure out what it meant to be in LA, and you've always been supportive and pushed me no matter what. And
I just knew instinctively. Yeah.
It feels good.
I told you so.
I appreciate that. No, it feels good to still be in there, to still have a career, to still be making work, and to know that there are people who said you can do it, and you did.
And you did.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely. Talk a little bit about at the top I was talking about being a dubbing director. A lot of people won't know what that is. And on Sanctuary, Netflix's Sanctuary, it's a sumo sports drama. What are the unique challenges? And you know, how did that opportunity present itself? And how did you just say, dubbing? Yes, I know how to do that. I'll dive in.
So, oh my goodness, it's such a great experience, and I would say for anyone here who is a director, who wants to be a director, if you ever get a chance to, like, you know, do dubbing work, directing dubbing work, I highly, highly recommend it. Now, of course, like, this came through, I did a program with Netflix where, you know, I did like some work with them to understand dubbing and what to put together, but then they asked me to come and dub the 8 episodes of Sanctuary, you know, into English. And the thing that was so interesting about this is, one, understanding the show. You still are writing a little bit, because, you know, you have to go in there. There's going to be translations where this thing isn't exactly the same what it means, and you have to kind of figure out, okay, what is the way that specifically an English or American audience is going to get this without losing the cultural understandings and aspects of it. So not only are you rewriting things on the go, you're doing it on the day of, even though you've, you know, prepped for this stuff, but then also, you know, on a regular director set, your actors and actors come in, they have to be out, but you have them for the most of the day. A lot of times we'd only have an actor for like just one day and that's it, or maybe 2 hours and that's it. And we have to knock out everything for all of their episodes. So there's almost no time. You have to really make decisions, not only quickly, rewrite things quickly, not only give them the direction of where you want them to make this work, make sure it's working with everything else. It's such a technical understanding that I think every director should have a chance to do some dubbing work, because you're still directing no matter what. While you're not on set with them, you still have to sit there and get across the everything that the original actor actress is giving you, and still be able to translate that. Like, one thing I always remember is that there was a couple of times where when the sumo wrestlers, you know, are pushing, they're doing the grunts. And I'm like, okay, hold up. We need to go over this again, not because you're not doing a grunt right, but because you can feel the person go, like they're moving. Like a grunt where you just go, without moving your body isn't going to have the same
no.
that. So you have to work with the actor to not only like stay still to where we can get the best dubbing of it, but also how can you still give me that while still giving the physicalness that we need for it to actually feel right as it's put in there.
Wow.
Like those are the pieces that I think make dubbing fun, really hard, sometimes even harder than just like directing on set, but also I think for any director, I cannot recommend it enough to at least do it once.
Wow. Ashley's asking, do you have difficulties dubbing with the change in intensity and inflection, and I would say nuance, from other languages into English? I mean, how does it, when you get a dubbing project, do you already have the script into English and then you have to sort of rewrite that and get the nuance of what you're seeing on screen to match what the English actor is doing?
It's a great question for that. So essentially, when you get something from somewhere else, or from a different place, a different language, they're going to give you the rough translation, meaning the literal word for word translation of what you can get. And the thing about it is, while that is the literal one, it doesn't really truly match up. And sometimes it can just sound awkward, being translated directly. So you as the director, you have to sit there and kind of ask yourself, okay, what is this actually saying? What is the person who originally said it getting across? What is the real meaning? And sometimes you have to ask yourself, okay, what is the way that like an American audience might understand what this is getting across? And it's not going to be the exact same wording that was given to you. And we dealt with that a good amount. Yeah. So it was something that you also had to really, really keep in mind, being able to get the performances, get the feeling, get the physicalness of it, but also making sure that what they're saying actually is not the most literal translation that might not make sense to a different audience. So yeah, it's a real thing.
Right. I mean, it's the nuance that is often missing. Netflix does a really good job. We watch a lot of the Norwegian and Swedish and Finnish, police documentaries and dramas and stuff, and they do a really good job. But Martin has a huge career in German voiceover world. He's the voice of, oh gosh, BMW, Intel, personnel trainings, all kinds of things. And sometimes, they'll send him a script that was originally written in Spanish, that's been translated into English, that's been translated into German. And he will have to call the agent who is in Madrid back and go, I can read this for you the way this came out of your computer printer, but it's not going to fly in German. So that, that finding that nuance. I mean, for example, one of my favorite things when I was learning German was the literal translation of the word gums is Zahnfleisch, which means tooth meat. So if you were to ask a computer, what is Zahnfleisch, it would say tooth meat, but we all know it's gums. So, you've got to find that it's the meat that holds your teeth in, right? So I would think that dubbing would be an absolutely fascinating thing to get your hands on.
Well, something I'll even add to those of who are watching, who watch Netflix regularly. If you ever happen to have a film that you put it into a different language, but maybe you keep the subtitles like still English, what you'll notice a lot of times is what the person is actually coming at, what they're saying, might not always match up. It usually doesn't match up with the subtitles. And you might think that's like, oh, is that a problem? In actuality, no. That is literally one of the things they put us through with the dubbing program, and then we put into doing dubbing at Netflix. Is they're going to give you the more literal translation at the bottom. So if you want the most literal one, you can look at the subtitles. But Netflix is actively trying to give you how this is going to feel and what they're truly saying through the actual dubbing of it. So for those of you who have ever noticed that, that's one of the reasons, why you get that on Netflix.
Yeah. It's also the thing with German too, is if Martin gets a script in English and they send the translation and he has to time it to a video, German syllables and words are 32% longer than English. So he has to then put it into Final Cut Pro and speed his voice up to fit the cuts in the picture. Because all languages are different lengths too. That's something as native English speakers, we just don't really necessarily even think about. Right. But what a fascinating project. What a wonderful thing. Before we go, scrolling across the bottom, people will see where they can learn more about you at QUEQthelights.com. But Ange had another question.
Yes, I know you're developing projects like Sankova, Family Reunion, Sweat, and you're continuing on time. Which project are you most excited about? And what are the stories you're still eager to tell in the coming years?
Oh man. So of course, I'm still very, very excited for Sankova. It's something that is near and dear to me. I love futuristic sci-fi comedies like Futurama and things to that degree. So, I really enjoyed making it with Justin Simien, and just waiting to see if anything else will pop up with it at any point. Right now, I'm going back in and I'm doing a little rework on a piece that I've been working on that's more Southern based. That's about what it means to grow up down south, but also what it means to be someone that has a very close-knit family where things start to fall apart. So I'm working on that because I want to have a more human one to put out there. And then, of course, I'm working on a horror that's definitely a lot more high concept and weird, the things I kind of love. It reminds me a little bit of the 1997 movie Cube. So, I'm working on a couple of things. It might take me a second to get there in terms of putting it together, but I'm just excited for any of them because I'm just a big believer in artists just making art. You make it, you put it out there, you see what happens, and you shouldn't feel like you have to just stay pigeonholed into one thing. You should try to write anything that you can, honestly.
That's fantastic. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah.
Make myself cry.
We should get your autograph now before it's too late.
Before he starts charging for it.
I should get y'all's autograph.
Oh, come on. Well, our regular viewers will know that Madam here has a limerick book out, Mrs. McCartney's Liverpool Limericks and other random Irish haikus. And so as a very special guest, we have Madam has written a limerick just for you. So if you are sitting comfortably, and everybody, I hope you've enjoyed today, our Emmy-nominated Beverly Hills film director friend. I just love saying that because it makes me sound posh. Xavier Burgin has been gracious enough to gift us an hour of his time today. So we would like to honor you with your own personal limerick. So if you're sitting comfortably, we shall begin.
1, 2, 3.
The talents of Xavier be craft tales with a depth we can see. Through truth and through art, he speaks from the heart and shapes how the world tends to be. Ta-da! There you go.
I love it. All right. I really appreciate you both of y'all. You're awesome.
We'll email that to you later on. Thanks again for spending so much time with us today because I know how many projects you're on and how busy you are. And scrolling across the bottom, you can learn more about Xavier and his amazing trajectory at Cue the Lights. That's QUEthelights.com. So go join his fan club, stay in touch, and we send all of our love to this rising star. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all so much. Really love y'all. Y'all the best.
Love you too.
All right,
Bye-bye.
sweetheart. We'll see you soon. And listeners and viewers, we'll see you all of a sudden next Tuesday, 11:30 Pacific. Bye-bye.